this fire of love in them, that they will be able to coordinate themselves together and unite in the love of God, as we are treating an important topic today on Mary and Martha, that the entire world will understand the importance of the unity and the consideration of these two sisters in their life, in their own spirituality. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So then we welcome you all to this important lesson. We are here to begin the 8th lesson of this journey. This lesson centers on the importance of contemplation, the conciliation of the two methods of contemplation, active contemplation and what we call active life and contemplative life. It's an important journey that many people find it difficult to reconcile. How can I reconcile myself with being an active person in the world, working in the world, and at the same time living a monastic life? And in this case, it becomes so important that we can understand that it is only when we're able to make this balance that the spiritual journey will make truly meaning. Even those monks, the monks in the desert, they still walk. How can they coordinate the work as well as the contemplation? We who are here in active life, in the missionary, in the forefront of the world activities, how can we reconcile ourselves with contemplation, knowing fully that we are facing distractions? How can we do that? One of the simple examples that brought us very closer to this is what happens in the family of Bethany, the family of Nazareth, in the family of Lazarus, two sisters. We have one called Mary and we have another one called Martha. Two of them show example of contemplation and active life. Today we are going to see the two of them, how two of them were divided, and they brought their case to Jesus, and eventually Jesus came and reconciled them. This reconciliation is very difficult to dig out in the spiritual life and in the journey of contemplation, but we are trying to do some justice today as we are encouraging all men and women who are listening on this journey, who are following us, to pay attention in order to follow well. We pray that the Holy Spirit will guide us and take us closer to Himself through Christ our Lord. So, we come to see, the first thing we ask again, who is a contemplative? Who is a contemplative? Is contemplative person a person who leaves everything and enter into desert? That's what we're going to find out. So we ask contemplation and action. So the first question is, who is a contemplative? We go to answer that the contemplative is not needy and greedy for human contacts, but is guided by vision of what he has seen beyond the trivial concern of passive world. A contemplative does not bounce up and down with fashions of the moment, because he is in contact with what is basic, central, and intimate. This was John Newman, trying to, on his work, very important work, The Wounded Healer. He's trying to talk about the contemplative, somebody who is not being tossed up and down with the fashions and the vents. If you see green, he becomes green. If you see white, he becomes white. If you see the fashions of the world, he follows all the fashions that come into the world. Anything he sees in the world, he goes into it, and not only that he goes into it, he allows those things to swallow him or her. And everything about his life is completely immersed determined by technology, by the culture of the modern world and so on and so forth. It's someone who is steady, who is central, who is focused, who knows what he wants, and who concentrates and discover God in the nature. And he also further to say that he is not afraid to die, since his vision makes him transcend the difference between life and death, and makes him free to do what has to be done here and now, notwithstanding the risk involved. For example, in this our time, when everybody is afraid, the entire world is afraid, many people who keep on asking questions in this conference, people are saying, when is the days of darkness coming? When is Jesus Christ coming? When will the world end? How are we going to live in the days of the Antichrist? What are we going to do to avoid the receiving the mark and being killed or escaping from one trouble another? A contemplative soul does not fear any of this. He is calm, he is quiet, he is just steady. The changing of the world, the trouble of the world does not turn him upside down. He is balanced, he is firm, he is not afraid. In fact, he is ready to die. To die is a gain, to live is also a gain. So such a person finds everything beautiful in life. And that is one of the very good reasons why today we want to concentrate on the importance of the journey within. Because when we discover Jesus within the sanctuary of our hearts, we fear nothing. We are not troubled of anything. We are calm. We are at peace with ourselves. Then we are in heaven on earth. So a contemplative soul is someone who is in heaven, even though he's still here on earth. Now, in Luke chapter 10, verse 38 to 42, we see a story of two sisters, Mary and Martha. Now, these two sisters, something is trying to happen here. If you have your Bible and go through it and read Luke chapter 10, verse 38 to 42, you will discover these few important points. Number one is that you will see that while Martha was busy seeing to all the servants, Mary was sitting at the Lord's feet and listening to his word. As I just recap, it's a story of Jesus in the house of Nazareth, in the house of Bethany, in the house of Lazarus at Bethany. Lazarus was a very good friend of Jesus. Remember, he's still the very one that Jesus was able to resuscitate, bring back to life. Now, one day Jesus decided to visit this home. When he entered this house, he started teaching some people who are around. The two sisters behaved differently. Mary, instead of joining to join his own sister to prepare something for Jesus, Mary decided to stay at the foot of Jesus, listening to the word of Jesus, and completely lost in the presence of Jesus. While Martha was busy in the kitchen, preparing some vegetables, something for Jesus, and they are enjoying themselves. And that is how to get it. But after some time, she become angry and feel that Mary is not concerned that Master is here, and that Master will be some one time become hungry and need to eat. And he went to Jesus and complained to Jesus, does it not concern you that my sister is here, left me alone, and without doing anything? Now, Jesus has to respond and to her and say, Mary, Martha, you worry yourself with too many things. Only one thing is important. And that thing that is important, your sister has taken it, and no one will take it away from her. So, it's like Mary is choosing the best part, while Martha has choosing what is less important. But we are going to see, is it actually that? If Martha has also abandoned the food and maybe decide not to prepare any food for Mary, for Jesus, and two of them sat at the front of Jesus. When the gospel is over, how can Jesus eat? Or are we trying to say that the work of Martha is not necessary? Is it what Jesus Christ is saying? So today we're going to look at it. And that is why we bring down a few points in this story. The first one says that while Martha was busy seeing to all the servants, Mary was sitting at the Lord's feet and listening to his word. Now, one was working hard physically, the other sitting still, doing nothing except gazing at the foot of Jesus. Now, one was feeding others, the other was being fed. Who is feeding others? Martha was feeding, preparing food for Jesus, while Mary was eating the food who Jesus has brought to them. Martha was absorbed in the matters of how to feed the Lord, while Mary was absorbed in the matter of how to feed the Lord. Okay, Mary was absorbed in the matter of how to be fed by the Lord. So, on the Martha's case, Martha was busy preparing something to feed the Lord, while Mary was already thinking of how Jesus would feed her. Now, look at another thing. Martha was preparing a banquet for the Lord. Mary was already reveling in the banquet of the Lord. Mary was already eating in the banquet of the Lord. Now, Mary had other work to do that Martha did not understand. So, Mary is already doing, and Mary is doing a work Martha does not understand, and Martha is already doing her own work, which Mary also understands. On this analysis now, Jesus said that Martha worries, put her heart in many things. Then Mary on her own has chosen the best path. So let us know that best path that Mary has chosen. That's we go further. Now, Martha's question. The question that is important for us to see here is, sanctity consists in the practice of fraternal charity, and charity is prayer. Then, why should we devote a special period of time to contemplate? To set apart time exclusively for prayer means so much less good done to others. So Martha may be looking at this in this sense by saying that since the fraternal work of charity is also prayer, then why should one now leave everything you are doing and only go for prayer? Since work is prayer. That is what Martha is asking. So, Martha's question is very crucial. Today, in this our world, many of us will be asking, since we begin this journey, is what Barnabas is trying to tell us is to leave our work, to leave the place of our duties, and only concentrate ourselves on prayer. No, we're going to see how we reconcile these two systems. So Martha said, since work is prayer, since doing good, being kind is prayer, why should one now abandon everything he has only to concentrate? Look at Mary. Mary does not care about Jesus, who has come to his house. Mary decided to sit down calmly, eating on the food the spiritual food Jesus had brought. Abandoned his own sister alone at the kitchen, doing allow her to do everything. And she remains there, did it for a while, and come back to contemplate, to complain to the Lord. Now, answer to Martha's question. One who is intimately united with God is mostly likely to be more active members of the church. Christ said, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me, you can do nothing. If you go to John chapter 15, verse 5, what does this mean? It simply means that what we are actually answer here is that we know that anyone who is closely intimated with God, who is closely united with God, perform much more work than someone who is loosely moving from one point to another without any rest, without any coordinating. You may be spending time doing many things but achieving less. So someone who is completely united with the Lord perform more work than the one who is less connected with the Lord. Can this be true? Yes, it can be true, because experience has shown that the monks who are in the monastery, who contemplate all the time, who spend much of their time in prayer and concentration, they perform more work than most of us who are here doing work outside. In the ancient history has told us that there are times when it is only monks are the major people who are feeding the world based on their farm, their work. Universities started in the monastery. Learning and discovery, medicine began in the monastery, where people have time to concentrate, to contemplate. So when we contemplate, have more time to contemplate God in everything, we discover great things, we achieve greatness. We even perform more work than when we are so much busy and working out ourselves without actually achieving anything. So we are going to see these truths when we begin to practice contemplation. So the answer is very simple, and this one said, if you remove yourself from me, you can't do nothing. Now, the next question that is very important is, can there be contemplation without action? Can someone contemplate and there will be no action? The answer is simple no. Look at what St. Teresa the Child Jesus said here. Teresa of Avila will say that God deliver me. He said, may God deliver her from people who are so spiritual that they want to turn everything into perfect contemplation, come what may. And she later said that she wrote in that interior life, we should desire and engage in prayer, not for our enjoyment, but for the sake of acquiring this strength, which fits us for service. So she further said, prayer cannot be accompanied by self-indulgence. That means that there can never be a contemplative soul without action. Action is the fruit of contemplation. When Jesus Christ was here on earth, he spent all day walking, he spent all night contemplating. The scripture will tell us that he would draw many times to the lonely place, to contemplate, to pray. But he spent all day walking, and to the extent that his disciples somehow asked him, Master, why did you not have time to eat? You spend all day and night walking, and Jesus will tell them, my food is to do the work of the one who sent me. So Jesus did not even care to eat, and he walked always. So at the same time, he is a man of contemplation. So contemplation and action goes hand in hand. So when a soul is growing in contemplative life, he becomes more active and even do work well in the world. You are in their place of work, you'll be able to do more those things you normally do with difficulties. When you grow in contemplation, you do them with less trouble. You do them with less pain. You even achieve greatness because you will have infused knowledge that will help you to discover what ordinarily, with your ordinary power and knowledge and natural endowment, you may not be able to know. You're able to see what ordinarily you cannot see, because now the grace of God, the fullness of the Spirit of God is upon you. And that is the spirit of contemplation. So the answer is simple no. There can never be a contemplation without action. Contemplation becomes perfect when action is being revealed. So that is a very important question that everyone needs to ask. Now we go to the next important step. We are born with longing for God, contemplation. So, deep down human beings, we have an intuition that this world and this life is not the last world. Everyone has that. Our earthly life and death are merely a way, a return journey to God. Deep down within us, something always reminds us that our true home is God Himself. God is waiting for us the same way the Father awaits the prodigal son. Everybody, man and woman, is naturally born of inner longing, inner desire to return to God. So that means that we are all naturally born as a contemplative soul. Contemplation is not reserved for special privileged soul. Martha can do contemplation, Mary as well can also contemplate. So it is not a gift of privileged soul, it is a gift of all who are born into this world. Because right deep within every man, there is this longing that is telling us that our home is not here. Our home is somewhere here. That this journey we are making here is a journey to a place. With all the vanity that we see in this world, with all things, good things we see in this world, we're eventually going to leave them. This presence, rock down, is one of the examples that help the world to realize that all these things we see in this world will soon pass away, but the word of God will not pass away. God will still be there to help us. God will still be there to take us. And Thomas will tell us that everything becomes perfect when those things, when that thing returns to its original place. Our origin is from God. Our perfection will also be in God. While we are living here on earth, our perfection begins when we begin to make a journey to contemplate the one who loves us. That journey of contemplating the one who loves us is something that is innate in us, and we call it contemplation. Now, God is waiting, and He's ready to call us whenever we call Him. We are born with this longing for God. When can I see the face of God? A psalmist says in Psalm 42 verse 3. Another point he said, contemplation quickens an irresistible passion to reach deeper and deeper into the vision of God. When we go into contemplation to communicate with God, it's awakening within us that natural power and love God has put in us in such a way that we will begin to ask ourselves, when are we going to meet Him and love Him? We will begin to think of when to go back and unite with Him. The prodigal son, on that very day, he decided to contemplate about the home. There is this thing that came into him, irresistible force. He began to say, in my father's house, there are many people who are hired laborers, and they are living fine, they are very happy, everything good. But see me here, I'm eating a food reserved for pigs. I will rise. I will go back to my father. The same way is that inner longing away for all of us. If once we can say, let us make this journey, let us begin this journey, the Father will be waiting for us, just as the father of the prodigal son is waiting for the prodigal son. Jesus, in the sanctuary of our heart, is longing to have us, is longing to live in the sanctuary of our heart, is longing to unite us, and is longing to grab us not on our shoulder, not in His own shoulder, but not on the leg, but He wants to grab us on His own arm and have us being closely united with Him. Okay. Now, if we see only now in the contemplation, it is true that we see only the positive reflection in the middle, but when we go deeper into this journey, then we shall see Him face to face. And seeing Him face to face represents having intimacy with Him. So contemplation reveals, makes us to experience what heaven will look like. One of the greatest joy in heaven is to behold the face of God. And how can we behold the face of God? We behold the face of God when we approach His presence. His radiation, His glory, His majesty will completely transform us. No one will come in contact with the fire and remain the same. Fire will absorb him and make him to become like himself. So the same thing applies when Moses moved to the mountain Sinai to encounter with God. The illumination of divine presence transformed him that the people of Israelites could not see his face anymore. They cannot look at his face because the face is glittering and brightening all the more. Now, so contemplation prayer is the answer to the grace of contemplation, just as faith is the answer to proclamation. It is only those who begins the journey of contemplation, who who long and make efforts to journey in, that we actually get there. And we now say that contemplative prayer is the journey, is the answer to the grace of contemplation, just as faith is the answer to proclamation. As we proclaim the God's message, then our faith grows. Now, the same way, when we engage in contemplative prayer, then God will shower the grace of contemplation on us. Remember what we are going, how to see the importance of the contemplation. Now, contemplation and the tune of worship. Jesus said to the woman in John chapter 4, verse 20 to 27, Jesus said, "Believe me, woman, the hour is coming, indeed already here, when the true worshippers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. That is the kind of worship the Father seeks. God is spirit, and those who will worship Him must worship Him in spirit and truth." What does this answer of Jesus shows? Remember the story of the woman that Jesus met at the well, a Samaritan woman. This woman somehow did not want to accept Jesus. But when Jesus began to interact with her and go into deeper life, begin to touch her inner life, she opened up and began to boast that they worship in this mountain in Samaria, but there people worship in Jerusalem. Try to bring worship. Jesus will able to bring out something interesting. That a time is coming when people will neither worship God in the mountain or in the Jerusalem, but people will discover God in the sanctuary of their heart. What we call worshiping God in spirit and in truth. And that's worshiping God in spirit and truth is when every man and woman will understand the importance of contemplation and make effort to be there. Now, body and spirit. Man, so human being, is made up of body and spirit. Body, made up of body and spirit, body and mind. Everything we do or think has already a spiritual and bodily dimension. Example, our thought has spiritual dimension, mind and bodily dimension, brain activity. Without brain, there's no thinking. God does not think, God knows. Even in our makeup, how we are being made up, there is this idea that there is a spiritual dimension. We are not only body, we are equally spirit. We are not only spirit, we are equally body. So, man is the composite of body and soul. This composite of body and soul is how God made it. It relates in the action and contemplation. So we can also see the body may be active in the what it is. The soul should be active also in the contemplation. We are going to see what, when we come back to media and matter, we now find out that the problem is not your work. The problem is not how you are made. The problem is not because you are married, your vocation. The problem is only, do you desire to live a contemplative life? Do you discover that contemplation is the hope of the world at this critical time? Do you discover that the contemplation is a call for everyone, not for people who are special, who really want to, who are maybe set apart to live a holy life? Every man and woman are called to holiness. That is what the Vatican II has achieved in the church. That this call of holiness, perfection, is for everyone. Everyone has been called to the summit of holiness. Jesus said, "Be you perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect." This perfection is a general call. We should take note of that. And we have to be this perfect, not only in the spirit, but also in the body. Not only in the body, but also in the spirit. There should be this reconciliation, which we are going to discuss. Now, getting ready for the contemplative journey. Before we go into this, how we are going to make this journey of contemplation, we have to round up. How can we reconcile Mary and Martha? How can we reconcile these two sisters? How can we reconcile contemplation and action? How can we reconcile the body and soul? How can we reconcile our active life and this quest for contemplation? How can we satisfy the yearning of our spirit and as well the yearning of the body? Now the answer is this. In the home of Bethany, in the house of Lazarus, where Mary and Martha stayed together as our example, both of them are very close to Jesus. Jesus is not very far away from Martha, who is cooking in the kitchen. And Jesus is not equally far away from Mary, who is sitting at his feet. The difference between Mary and Martha is that Martha worries so much and lose sight of Jesus, whom he is in his presence and preparing food, because where there is love, there is no distance. Second, Martha was contemplating Mary instead of contemplating Jesus. Because in that pot of soup, in that vegetable she's cutting, in that plate, in that kitchen where she's working, Jesus is not far away from Martha. Jesus is there. In fact, Martha could have seen Jesus and contemplate Jesus even in those pots of soup, even in those vegetables she's cutting, even in the services she's doing. So if Martha will be able to lose sight, forget Mary, and concentrate on Jesus, whom she is serving, then Martha will also know that we'll be getting her message from what she is doing, because Jesus is also there. Martha will not be far away from Jesus, and Martha will not see Mary as working different things. He will also see that even though Mary is there at the kitchen, is at the foot of Jesus, she is also doing a greater work. And the question will now come up to you: which one is difficult? Is most difficult, to contemplate or to do work? That is the big question I will leave for you. Which one is more difficult? To contemplate, to do contemplation, to sit down at the chapel and contemplate and pray, and to go about to work. Which one is more difficult? With your experience or whatever you do, I would like you to go into the world and practicalize it. But to give you my own answer at instance, I will tell you that it is even more difficult to sit at the foot of Jesus to work, to contemplate Jesus, than to contemplate Jesus in the work. Because it is more closer to our nature. It is what we call understanding Jesus Christ in the symbol of nature, in the sacraments of the world, the sacramental signs of the world. Seeing Jesus in everything, seeing God in everything is easier than to see Jesus physically sitting before you. In fact, the apostles have no privilege. The apostles are not more advantageous to us. For our own generation does not lose anything because we have not seen Jesus. Look at what Jesus said when he resurrected. When he met the apostle the last time, when Thomas was able to be convinced, Jesus said, "Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." What does it show? It simply shows that it is easier to get in touch with God with the active life, with the getting in touch with the nature, than if Jesus is in the world, just as Jesus is human being moving in the world. Many people will not discover him. Look at the Pharisees, the chief priests, the scribes, people who supposed to discover him when Jesus Christ was here on earth, did not discover him. They did not see him. They could not contemplate it. They could not understand him. They get even more confused. Martha could have discovered Christ more, even in his work, than Mary. Because Mary may have been sitting down there, looking at Jesus, and being carried away by a different thing altogether. You will look at the beautiful face of Jesus as he's looking at the beautiful face of Jesus. Instead of looking at Jesus' handsome face, her mind will go up thinking about her past life. She's no longer contemplating Jesus. In this way, she loses it. So, when we look at this way properly, we now see that it is easier to contemplate Jesus even in active life than to contemplate Jesus fully when you have abandoned everything. And that is why in the monastery, in order to do a positive contemplation, you must be active, you must be hardworking. If you are lazy, you only carry the Bible, they will send you out of the monastery. Because it is the work that refreshes the mind, the work renews. In the garden, while they are working, the monk will be able to see God more and more. As they are contemplating the nature, and they are contemplating the active work they are doing, their mind is being refreshed. If they allow themselves up, every morning they pray and wake up, they will become boiled, and eventually they may even lose their own sight of God and begin to do other things. So, my dear friends, I want to encourage you. You are not left aside. Even if you are busy in the work like Martha, you can still find the meeting point. The problem of Martha is not the food that Martha is preparing. The problem of Martha is that Martha loses sight of Jesus in the kitchen. He did not see Jesus Christ in the kitchen, and he did not contemplate Jesus Christ in the kitchen, because it is the same Jesus Christ whom Mary was gazing, sitting and gazing, that Martha is also serving in the mission of his work. So, in those places where you are working, in those areas where God has called you as a vocation, contemplate Jesus, discover Christ in that place. You will become that another Mary sitting before Christ, because the altar of God is that place of work. Jesus is not far away from the altar of his work, of this nature. So, we go further now to begin this journey, having seen that you are following. How to get ready to this journey? In Mark chapter 10, 17 to 37, certain things came up. There is this rich young man that actually want to follow. This, if you have the Bible, you can open it and read it. This young man has been so much loving and working for God and keeping the commandments. And he saw Jesus Christ passing by. He ran to him and said, "The Master, what must I do to be saved? I want to follow you." Now, look at what happened. Here, a certain young man, rich young man, asked Jesus Christ what he must do to inherit the kingdom of God. First part, there are two stages. in order to get ready to this journey. One part, Jesus said to him, keep the commandments. So, when Jesus Christ told him to keep the commandments, he seemed to claim that since from his youth, he has been doing wonderfully well. He has been keeping the commandment. Everything is following well. He has not given up from or offending God. He has been trying and so on and so on. Then Jesus loved him. Jesus admired him more. Jesus wished to have him, to hold him, to make him a dear one, to lead him into that journey. And Jesus said to him, the second part, go sell what you have, give it to the poor, and follow me. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. And that's what also he preached in Mark chapter 5, verse 3. And theirs is the kingdom of God. And what is Christ trying to point out here? What is that work, that action? Christ said, go, sell everything, give it to the poor, come and follow me. What he's trying to talk about is self-emptying. Self-emptying. We have to become empty so that we may be filled with God. Jesus emptied himself, taking the form of a servant. The first preparation is self-emptying. Self-emptying is, there's much attachment, there's much things that hold us. It can even be life. I want to save this life, I don't want to die. And that is why I keep on saying, all those who are afraid of the end time, physical death, they are not concerned about spiritual life, how to live with God. They are only worried, how can I be saved? My daughter, my brother, my sister, everybody. You buried your heart here on earth. You are not free. You cannot fly. You cannot contemplate. You cannot see God in his fullness. You need a little work to get yourself free. In fact, freedom will even make you to desire death, because you feel and know for truth that no one can get to heaven alive. You have to die, drop this body, and then fly. So if you really want to get where God is, death will not be anything to you. It will even be your greatest friend. Now, freedom and self-emptying is very, very important. What is those things you hold hand that you cannot give up? And that is what we call the riches that hold our mind captive. We should think about that. Now, the first level implies the selling of all material possession. Very important. The second level implies the renunciation of all mental, spiritual treasure. That is, thinking and all psychic activity, in addition to our will and everything we want to make. Only then will we be truly poor. So what does it mean? Is that in full emptying of ourselves, after the physical giving out of anything that is holding us, we have to empty ourselves of certain things, understanding that doesn't help, and become like little children, so that we can be free, so that we can become really poor. If we are humble enough to learn, God can speak to us even from the most illiterate and even those who we think they don't know anything. Okay, let us move forward. So, here, something is very important for you to know. There are differences between faith and contemplation. Remember the topic of today, getting ready for the contemplation. Faith is the certainty of what I do not see and have not experienced, as we see in Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. What is faith? Faith is, I believe in this something. I have not seen it, but that will surely come. That is faith. Now, the second one, contemplation is an initial vision of God. It is not action of faith. It's what you call initial vision of God. In contemplation, we know, not on the article of faith. God is expose himself. God makes certain things known in such a way that we can understand it. Faith does not lead us, in fact, contemplation leads us beyond faith, because it is contemplation moves with wing of love, not on the wing of faith. Contemplation is where God reveals something great. In fact, contemplative vision helps soul to see something you have learned with the article of faith in the new light, in its more meaningful understanding. If we say that God exists, we believe by faith, but we come to know God in contemplation by experience, by seeing him as he is. Not completely see him like beatific vision, but understanding in experience that no one can even interpret. And that is one of the reasons why a contemplative soul will even have a stronger faith than someone who just heard something and believed. When the faith is not nourished with contemplative vision, that faith is not deep rooted. Anything can wave it away, anything can throw it out. So we need contemplative vision in order to solidify and deepen our faith, because faith is the certainty of something that has not been seen, but just believe it, as we see in Hebrews chapter 1. The certainty of faith rested on three experiences. Anything you call faith rests on three experiences. Number one is life experience, religious environment, and grace. This is certainty of faith. When you see that somebody has faith, it is as a result that person has experienced something and it helps him to develop, or as a result of the church has taught this, you believe, or as a result of grace of God, because faith is also an article of grace. But how can we rest the article of contemplation? In the article of contemplation, it rests completely on love. It is God himself who reveals this to the one he loves. Look at Jesus said when he sent 72 people to go and preach, and they came back. Jesus was so happy, saying, Father, blessed are you for hiding these things to the learned and those who are wise, and revealing them to the mere little children. What does that mean? It simply means that contemplation reveals God's hidden mystery, and those who have the eyes of contemplation sees it in that light, and it is not out of knowledge, out of teaching. It is something deeper and something beyond human knowledge. Now we go further. Our making and our contemplation. Now I will like equally to briefly summarize for people who may close their eyes, and when they close their eyes, they thought that contemplation is when you begin to see heaven coming down, or you are moving, at a certain point in time, heaven will open, and then you see Jesus sitting in the throne. As you see Jesus sitting in his throne, you'll be interacting to you, you'll be hearing him, he'll be talking to you, you will even touch his garment. In fact, Jesus will now carry the crown of thorns and put on your head. I want to warn you, this is not contemplation. Pay attention to what you want to talk about contemplation. I pray that it will not discourage you on this journey, but let it inspire you to move forward. Now, when I said our making and contemplation, image, thoughts, consolation, consideration, discernment, and so on, belong to our committed faith as part of our discipleship, but not on the contemplative way. I have to explain this. When you come to prayer, you close your eyes and you want to contemplate, and you are seeing some images, you are seeing some, your heart is very happy, you are feeling that, you feel like crying, you feel like flying, you begin to see some crowd coming around you, some angels are now descending and ascending and so on. All these things is what we regard as what's called the we say that it belongs to the committed faith. As part of our discipleship, we gain this thing as an article of faith. We are privileged to have this because of faith. It is not yet contemplation. Then what then is contemplation? How can we talk about contemplation? Now, look at something here. We now say that reflection, meditation, okay, they are all, okay, now, I complete the sentence, say, they are all our making a job well done for Christ, but not the way of contemplative life. I repeat that question, that sentence again. I said, images, thought, consolations. Images is like seeing some images, thoughts, something coming to your heart. Hey, you feel like, or consolation, you feel your heart was so sweet. Consideration, you are, as you are journeying, you are considering many things, you are ascending some mountain. Discernment, you are discerning angels coming down, and so on. We now say that all this belong to a committed faith as part of our discipleship, but not to the contemplative way. They are all our making a job well done for Christ, but not the way of contemplative life. Then reflections, meditations, and the application of senses belong to our practice of faith, but not to the contemplative looking and gazing. So when we see we are reflecting in contemplation, we see ourselves reflecting on something, we see ourselves meditating on something, we are applying our senses, trying to practice, do some certain things. All these efforts is still on the practice of faith. It is still on active meditation. It is not yet. It has not come to be what we call gazing, contemplative gaze or contemplative looking. In contemplation, all these things is not there. How I wish you understand what I'm saying. Now, we further go. Moving to the inner room. When Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, 6 to 7, that when you want to pray, you have to go into your inner room to pray. What does Jesus actually mean by that? Jesus is trying to tell us that the place of contemplation is in the house. Let me just say something here. Private room here means storeroom. In the ancient Greek or in the Hebrew word, when we talk private room, it is a storeroom, a room that has a very tiny window. And we call it treasure without window. At times, if you have a window, it will be very, very tiny. Once the door is shut, you cannot look in or outside. The moment you close that particular door, you cannot see outside. So, as long as you are preoccupied in your prayer with thought, with feeling, you are not yet in your private room. You may be sitting on the balcony. So, in the journey of contemplation, as long as we are still thinking, feeling, have some feeling, you are not yet in the private room. You are still, maybe you must come closer to the house, maybe at the balcony. Thought and feelings connect you with the world and stir up your psyche. So when you go into contemplation and you are thinking and some feelings are coming into your heart, you are still there. You have not actually lost in the contemplation. So because with this thought and all this, your psyche is somehow being connected to the world. You are still having some interaction with the world. You are not yet at the contemplative phase. Now, with your thoughts, the door is not bolted yet. You are not yet lost in the darkness of the room. The time change has not yet been accomplished. You have not passed through the eyes of the nature. Change lies between the balcony and the private room. There we will meet the Father. So, if there is this thought, there is this some imageries and some form of ideas coming up, consolation, your body is being shaken, you are feeling somehow like anointing is catching you, you are still in the active journey. In the contemplation, all these things should not be there. It has to be calmness and brightness, complete emptiness. So we need to enter into a hollow darkness. Remember what we're talking about, journey into getting in touch with our being, getting in touch with ourselves. When I give you the simple practice of centering prayer, is to see the possibility of drawing us closer even to the balcony, so that when you say you are calling Jesus, Jesus, Jesus at a time, I say don't think about anything, and you are calling the name Jesus or Mary or kindness, anything you choose. As you are doing this particular work, if you continue for 30 minutes without your mind going anywhere, and you now get lost into this contemplative rest, contemplative gaze, you may enter into what we call the cloud of unknown. This cloud of unknown is where God actually meets the lovers to take them to the place of rest. We will still get there as we move on. Now, contemplation is rest. I have to emphasize this. We are changing the direction of our topic. Remember what the theme of today, getting ready to the journey of contemplation. We have said many things that is not contemplation. We are also saying that everyone can do contemplation. We can also say that Mary and Martha can have equal grace if two of them can be reconciled. Mary could be able to see Jesus without losing sight of him while sitting in his presence. Because there are many people who sit like Mary in the chapels and many places of prayer in our world today, but their heart is not where Jesus is. They will be in the present sacraments and they will be sleeping. They are not there. Their mind is worried. They are even there planning how to revenge and attack their enemies as they contemplating. But there are many matters who are still far away from the churches and from the place. From their place of work, they are connected to Jesus, which we are teaching you that Martha can actually become Mary. And we want to say that article of faith is different from contemplation, consolation, and other things. Now, contemplation in its full meaning is rest. Now, what is rest? We must never try to suppress our feelings in our journey to the inner room. We can't suppress our feelings. Not to admit and not to seek them anymore is not clearly in our hand. By mere resting in and looking at the presence of God, they will turn off. So the simple thing I want to put here, for those who may come and ask questions, how can we rest? Last week I was trying to emphasize that resting is not actually sleeping. Because people may be sleeping on their bed, but they are not resting. Rest is right on top of their bed. Right as they are sleeping, you see them fighting. You see them, one animal will pursue them. You see one big evil spirit will be pursuing them while they are sleeping. So they will, from the place of sleeping, you see them shouting, crying, and women, and they even wake up. Restlessness. Rest is when we live in the presence. We are going to talk about it in the next conference. How to find rest, how to rest, how to put everything still. So we should not try to suppress our mind, our feelings in order to rest. We should allow them to be. And then God will turn off the lights and we enter into the journey. Okay, let's go further now. our action in contemplation. What can you do, or what are you expected to do when you are doing contemplation? Some people think you do it because they'll be struggling to close your eyes to do this and that, you know, to get there. No, you have about 4 things you have to do. Number one, you are looking. You look. Looking is the first one. Who are you looking at? You try to look. Look is like gazing with the eyes of love onto that man you want to see. Even though you will not see him, even though you don't see anything, but you can gaze. Now, number 2 is being aware. Being aware is being aware that you are here. You don't need to move far away from yourself. Be aware that you are in the presence. Number 3 is being conscious. Then, being conscious is that you should be conscious that you are making a journey of searching for the one you love. Then, number 4 will be paying attention to. You pay attention to something. Attention you are paying is attention to what God is saying. And I will give an assignment, which is practical assignment. To go into the field anywhere, go and get in touch with the nature, look, be aware, be conscious, and pay attention to, just be there. The last part is just be there. And how will this assignment I will give you be? The assignment is just like, enter into your garden, pick anything you like, gaze at that, be conscious of it. Allow that thing you pick to speak to you. Don't connect anything far away from yourself. Be there. Only be there. Just be there. Look at it. Discover the beauty in it. When we begin to see beauty in nature, we begin to see God in everything. When we'll be able to see beauty even in our family, in what God has made. Some people have beautiful homes, but they have never sit down and look and gaze at this beautiful home where they live. Some have beautiful children, but they have not taken time to admire the beauty of their children. Some have beautiful husband or beautiful wife, but they have not taken time to see how beautiful and how wonderful these persons are. They keep on looking far away and get confused in the world. Some have been so much blessed that they cannot gaze and see this blessing God has showered on them. Their eyes and their mind is on something they have not yet acquired. How can you contemplate? So contemplation begins with looking, with being aware, being conscious, paying attention to, and just to be there. So in the depths, that's the last point here, there is no thought anymore, no image, no kind of consideration or making. The only thing that will remain is loving, so gazing and being. Loving, gazing and being. We will discover this when we get there. So that when we journey within to discover God, who is in the sanctuary of our hearts, everything will disappear. The only 3 things remain: loving, gazing, and being. When I mean being, is being there. And that being there is just be, just rest, just love, just gaze. And then the sweetness of life will be there. Now, in the end of everything, we begin by observation. Where are we? Listening. What comes to our face? It is all a matter of awareness. Contemplation does not have much in common with feeling and devotion. It happens rather at the level of spiritual awareness and that of being. And it's very important, I am repeating it. So contemplation does not have much in common with feelings and devotion. Contemplation is not expressing how you are feeling, how you love, whether God is shaking you or no. Whether you are happy is not. God said be. At times, dryness may be there, painfulness, things may be extraordinarily painful, but Jesus wants you to be there, to just love. And that is contemplation. That's the beauty of contemplation. Now, look at something I want to say here. It happens rather in the level of spiritual awareness. Contemplation happens at the level of spiritual awareness and that of being. When a soul preserves in this blank space, God will surprise him by revealing himself to him. Very important. If a soul was able to preserve, remain in this trouble, in this blank space, a space where he doesn't even see anything, suddenly God will reveal himself. God reveals himself when we are at rest. Look at the first story we talk about. Elijah looking at God on the fire, on the thunder, and God was not there until that sheer silence, gentle breeze, there, behold the Lord. Now, so I encourage you to move from outer world to inner world, world within, and from thinking, making, to being and looking. If you really want to make this journey, you must struggle to stop the action of thinking, making, thinking that it is only when you sit down and be struggling that you get there. You get there only when you remain calm, you are at being. Now, what we do in rest, what are you going to do when you are resting? What do you expect? What is God expecting you to do at rest? Now, look at it this way. At rest, in resting, we try to be quiet and let the silence speak to us. Very important. Second, to be quiet and let the Lord work in us. Number 3, to be quiet and just enjoy being with Him, even if we feel nothing. And these 3 points is very, very important for you to consider. Number 1 again, in resting, you will try to be quiet and let the silence speak to us. The second we do is to be quiet and let the Lord work in us. And in the third part, to be quiet and just enjoy being with Him, even if we feel nothing. The Lord speaks to us, the Lord work in us, we desire to be with God, even if He did not, we are not feeling anything, we are not even feeling like encountering Him. We just be there, and then we see the sweetness of it. Now, let us go further. Result of rest, as I conclude. In eternity, we shall rest, and we shall rest, we shall see, and we shall see, we shall love. We shall love and we shall praise. This very statement is so interesting. It's a word of St. Augustine. Augustine will say, in eternity we shall rest. And when we rest, we shall see. That means that we have to enjoy the contemplation. We begin the contemplation in rest. The contemplation begins in rest. Because where God lives is eternity. And eternity simply means now, eternal now. That's eternity. Living in the present. So, when time, which we are going to discuss next week, the consideration of time and eternity, moving from time and finding yourself in eternity. When we make this reconciliation, we move into eternity in time. And it is only in eternity in time, living in the present, being there, that we can now experience eternity in time. And in this eternity in time, we find rest. And when we rest, we see. So when we rest, we see. And when we see, we love. And when we love, we praise. So we love, we see, and we praise. So take this capital words. Rest, we see. From seeing, we love. From loving, we praise. And that's the end point of contemplation. I will continue to summarize this for those who still make the journey. So, in resting, we begin to journey we begin the journey that will transform our lives. So, resting is the foundation of the beginning of contemplation. We shall find a new way of seeing and then a new way of loving. The time spent resting from all effort prepare us for a loving encounter with the Lord. Here, we cease struggling and letting Him enfold us in His peace. We are going to talk about it. We no longer wear ourselves with trying to find God or trying to gain His approval. Instead, we wait for Him in silence and in peace. We listen, and in the silence, we hear His gentle invitation to that quiet place within where He is waiting for us. So, my dear brothers and sisters, it is resting, calmness, that we will see Him. Some people will begin to wonder that we thought that there is a lot of energy. God said, in rest, we discover Him, who is silent. No wonder why even after creation of the world, on the seventh day, God has to rest. Because it is in this rest that we will appreciate what He has done. Now, is it all a waste of time to rest? The invitation to rest and begin to use part of our prayer time to rest is one our ego will not like. Many people will not like this, will be so much discouraged. The ego wants to be active, doing, making an effort to show God we are seriously intent on making good use of our time with Him. To be involved, to sit and rest do not please the ego. So we must be prepared to resist our ego and find time to rest. As Jesus said in Matthew chapter 11 verse 28, come to me, all you who labor and overdoing things, I will give you rest. That's rest we are talking about. In this rest, God will be doing all His doings, because it is no longer you who is now. You want to be active, you want to be so powerful. I remember some people naturally, God will like to teach them of the importance of contemplation. For years of their spiritual life, they are making a good journey, going from one place to another, praying, doing novenas, attending all the programs, do all the active work. Maybe suddenly God decided to give them one sickness, and they have to be on the bed. Their greatest sorrow will be, here on this bed, we have lost everything. We are no longer communicating. We don't go for pilgrimage anymore. We are not, whereas they have the greatest opportunity to enter into contemplative rest and enjoy God. So, I encourage you, let us learn how to take time and rest in order to find Him who is residing in the sanctuary of our heart. Any time you use to rest, to contemplate, is not a waste time. Rest, then we see. And when we see, we love. Rest opens our eyes to something great. The dark tunnel and the crowd of unknown. Darkness results from the lack of knowledge, something unknown to us. What obstructs God from us is not a cloud in the sky, but the cloud of unknown. This cloud is like a narrow tunnel of total darkness, since the senses are in the dark. So, when you rest and we tell you, forget about thinking, forget about making, there is a place where you will eventually land yourself. And where is this place you will land yourself? Into the unknown. And we call it the darkness of unknown. that crowd of unknown. When we call it the crowd of unknown, the crowd of unknown is that it is the crowd that came out of the crowd of forgotten. When you are not thinking, when you are just there. It is not that heaven comes, that it's not physical crowd. It's just like you are empty, you are at rest, you are still, you are in the presence, and then God will take you from there and reveal himself to you. I will still say it is God who will reveal himself to you, not you who will even find him, because we are limited in discovering who he is. God will still say, here I am. You will now meet him and see him. He's the one who will take you from this crowd of unknown to that true vision, the true light of contemplation. And I will also encourage you, don't give up from here. From now onwards, you'll be hearing me talking about the crowd of unknown that came as a result of crowd of forgotten. Now, I repeat what I just said, that darkness results from a lack of knowledge, something unknown to us. What obstructs God from us is not a crowd in the dark, but the crowd of unknown, because God can never be known. This cloud is like a narrow tunnel of total darkness, since the senses are in the dark. So we now talk about the crowd of forgotten. If you want to enter, live and walk in the crowd of unknown, you need a crowd of forgotten between you and the things of the earth. So we need the crowd of forgotten to be able to enter into the crowd of unknown. This crowd of forgotten has to be between the world. You have to forget the world and yourself. Then, in this way, we enter into the crowd of unknown. And from this crowd of unknown, the journey begins. Now, from crowd of forgotten to the crowd of unknown, so discovery. Now, I fast from image. You are not seeing any image. From feeling, from penitence tears and holy aspiration. I decline from finding God exactly where he is and leaving him free within me to accomplish whatever he wishes. I have stopped wanting to be someone else, a great man of God. For example, instead, I have started to discover my true image, which was within me from the moment of my baptism. At this level, you are no longer one. In short, at the level of contemplation we are going here, you are not thinking of what you will do for God. It is what God will do in you. Here, your greatness does not lie because you have done this, you have done that. It is no longer in the making, it is in the being. Let God carry. Let God take control. Let God move. Let God take everything. So, it will no longer be when they take your position from you, from the church, you will now forget about God. Those things are not important. You're happy to allow God to do everything. In short, it becomes so easy to understand that simple term which we recite in our consecration to the creation of Lord. May I decrease while others increase. As we embrace the level of humility, you are just being. In this abasement and littleness, in this empty imagination, in this lonely and dry journey, we discover who God is. We'll still get to discuss this in detail for those whom it is sounding so abstract or something that cannot be achieved. I expect you to ask your questions. I go to this one. We find after a time that we no longer seek God's gifts. And a contemplative soul does not always seeking for God's gifts. He's not even seeking for his grace, no longer asking for anything or expecting anything. We have abandoned ourselves in his presence. Our relationship with God changes from wanting things from him to simple being with him with no other motive. At this level, you will discover the beauty of contemplation. That is why I'm saying you are not even thinking about. I remember Saint Teresa discussing the journey, whether if God, they said, for example, if there is no heaven, there is no hell. If God will send her to hell. So a person asks that question, if God decided to send you to hell, so what will you do? You say, if God will send me to hell, no problem, I know that He will not send me. I will only hold Him on His cross. So wherever He goes, if He will follow me to the hell, I will comfortably stay there and live there forever. So He's not struggling to save, not struggling to, the fear of this empty world will not be a problem. You are not trying to be a great man or to do this or to do that. What is most important is to be. Here I am, Lord. I have come to do your will. Okay. And from this place of rest, we watch what God is doing for us now and has done in the past. We become observers rather than players in the game that are going inside us. Here, we become more observers. We just wait and see what God is doing and how God is doing it and how beautiful it is that God is doing it. It is not you doing the work. God will be the one who is doing all the doings. So interesting. So, spiritual exercise. My dear ones, we have come to the end of today's journey, getting ready for the journey of contemplation. I know we have provoked a lot of things. So, but I would like you not to discourage. That is how it should be. Pay attention to every details. When you get this, listen to this thoughts all over again. Go through the PowerPoints, get through things, don't just throw it away. This is the very heart of this teaching. If you don't get this particular level, you will get much confused. Because you will be confusing contemplation with active life, with devotion, with sentiment, with feelings, and so on and so forth. It is just only to be, to be, to be, to be. So, the spiritual exercise for today, for the next week, I don't know how many of you who have done what I asked you to do. I get a lot of people who just send in, few people who send their other assignment was able to do the same time prayer. So, what I would like you to do, take your seats and practice rest for 1 hour. Do it, maybe anytime within this week, do it up to 3 times. Take a seat, go somewhere. When I mean rest, what do you mean by practicing rest? If you understand this teaching, it means that rest is ability to not to think about anything. Just don't think anything else. Just sit down. Don't feel anything. Just try to be in the empty space. Just sit down. Practice rest for 1 hour. If you can rest, you now find out that within this 1 hour, you may struggle, and have 1 minute rest. If you can rest for 1 minute, it is a great rest. You will have more energy than someone who has slept for 5 days. So, I encourage you to do it. Take your seat, the very simple exercise, take your seat and practice the rest for 1 hour. Try to be at rest. If you're able to do this, I think God will do something. I pray that the Holy Spirit will fill the gaps of this message. Reveal to us what all that we have not actually said or we have not said explained well. So reveal it and make it more understandable to all hearts and all men and women who will be able to come in contact with this message or this journey of contemplation and increase their devotion of love to Jesus crucified. Thank you. May God bless you. Before we go into 15 minutes break, which I have already exceeded the time, I will like to inform you again about the forthcoming 25 days anniversary of this devotion, which is coming on 1st to 5th. We are beginning this 5-day banquet. So I still invite all of you who can make it. But those who cannot make it, a lot of desire that we celebrate it in various places where we live, especially celebrate it with the poor. So it is very important. It is the wish of the agonizing Jesus Christ that the poor are being touched. We're able to get certain things to let get in touch with the poor, feed the poor, as many poor people as we can. Here in Nigeria, here we are also trying to answer this call to empty our purse or whatever we have to see how we can feed the poor, especially in this pandemic. There are thousands of poor people around us in this Africa, even in the United States, in everywhere there are poor people. So consider being part of it. If you don't see poor people around you who you can help, you can send your donation to support the poor, to feed the poor in this our African world, this part of the world where many people find it difficult to eat even one square meal every day. So there are many children who are living malnutrition, who you will see them, you actually pity them. Some eat anything else, but God still give them strength and allow them to live. So we shall celebrate it to answer that first call which Jesus called. Console me, adore my precious blood. So it is not coincidence that this event, we are celebrating it amidst this pandemic, this COVID-19. It is not coincidence. It is God who wants us to practice this act of feeding the poor and helping the poor. And I want to lift you up your faith that feeding the poor is not those who have. When there was a time in the history of Israel, in the time of Elijah, there was a famine for 3.5 years. God did not send Elijah to rich people, to Ahab, the king of Israel. God sent Elijah to a poor widow of Zarephath. This poor woman has only a handful flour when Elijah met her, handful flour. This handful flour is the only thing she has, and she confessed to Elijah, this is the only thing I have. I'm gathering the firewood to prepare this last meal. The moment I finish eating it, we will now wait for death, I and my son. Elijah looked at her and said, woman, from this handful flour, get a small portion, prepare it first for me. Then afterwards, go and prepare for you and your son. The woman obeyed, and Elijah prophesied that the flour will not finish in this small sack, this small bag, until God send down rain in the land. And that promise become true because of the faith of the woman of Zarephath. Why did I tell this story? I tell this story that feeding the poor is not for the rich. In fact, the world has testified that those who feed the poor, the prophets, and even the messengers of God are the poor people. Those who support missionaries, missionary work in the world, are the poor. What are that thing God wants? God wants you to challenge you from that little you have. Deep hand from that little you have. Give the poor first and wait and see if God will allow you to be empty before the end of this pandemic. God will not allow you that. So I'm encouraging, we have made it an open challenge to all the devotees. You must feed the poor as God has called us. Console me. Adore my precious blood. In all the nations of the world, beginning from the 1st July to the 31st of July, reach to the poor, feed the poor, give something to the poor. Let the servants gather whatever they have together and think of giving the poor. If you don't have any poor people, send to us. We have plenty of them in Nigeria here who have nothing to eat. But it's not much you are sending is look for the poor people around you and help them. They need it, and that is what God, that's the message our Lord wants me to pass to you as we are preparing for the forthcoming celebration of 25 years anniversary. It's a jubilee, and we have to celebrate it with banquet. Everything remains the same. The apostolate is preparing and wishing all of you the best of the Lord. As we also going to include special intention in this month of July. Two special intentions in the one we have already. Number one should be the end. God, through His mercy, should forgive the world and end this pandemic through the merit of the most precious blood. The God will forgive the world, have mercy on us, and end this pandemic through the merit of the most precious blood. Number two, that God will reveal the plan of the enemy and thwart it, all the plans of the enemy of the Holy Cross, thwart all their enemy and reign in the world. Then that the third one, which I want to include, is that God will protect His dignity in the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist, that the abuse of the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist will end. He will raise more people who will defend Him from the hierarchy of the church, from everywhere, especially now. A lot of practices are going on, so that these abuses, which is tormenting His heart, will end. So we pray for the end of this abuse, that God will raise us, inspire, and protect His own dignity. It is God who will do it. It is His work. We are only a mere instrument, begging Him to do all this work. So invite men and women. This Jubilee, 25 years of this call, let the whole devotees all over the whole world be called unto the 9 days novena prayer, the 3 days, and the 12 days for Israel. With this novena, united with faith, all devotees and all the members of the church coming together to pray, God has the power to quench this evil and end this nonsense going on in the world. Let our faith save us. Let our faith in the blood of Jesus Christ heal our wounds. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So, we see you to answer your question if you are still there in 15 minutes' time. Remain blessed and see you there. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thank you and remain blessed.